Hello, good morning. Welcome to the ZRA Tax Chat. Now, on Tax Chat, we discuss different tax issues. Last week, we were discussing local excise duty, a topic that a lot of people are interested in, and that discussion was exhausted extensively. Now, today, we discuss another interesting topic, and this topic relates to especially those that go into importation. You could be importing something, or you could be exporting something. I know one of the excruciating moments is one of those moments duty when, for example, you import a car and it takes about 1 month just waiting for your car to, maybe reach Dar es Salaam or maybe Nakonde. And then when your vehicle reaches Nakonde, again you find yourself waiting for another week or two. So that moment, especially if it's your first car, can be excruciating because you're waiting to receive your car or to receive, those goods that you are imported. Now, as the Zambia Revenue Authority, we've been putting in place different mechanisms just to ensure that we facilitate trade in a very quick manner, and those are the procedures that you and I could use. So today we discuss a very important and very straightforward discussion of pre-registration and pre-clearance. So in a holistic manner, that is called pre-arrival processing. My name is Oliver Nzala from ZRA, and of course I'm with my colleague who has been dealing with these issues for a number of years. Her name is Beauty Msonda, Senior Collector under the Customs Services Division. Beauty, good morning.
Good morning, Oliver, and good morning, everyone.
Yeah. So I was just talking about the pre-arrival processing, yes. Now encompassing pre-registration and pre-clearance. Would you just shed more light on that?
Yeah, so actually in cross-border transactions, I think all of us have at one point or the other encountered this. The clearance process, the customs clearance process sometimes creates a lot of delay, and this can be a trade barrier as well as creating a lot of anxiety in the importer's mind, because like you said, you're importing your first car, obviously you're very excited, and it's taking long and the anxiety just kicks in. So what we're trying to do is address those issues of delays in terms of our clearance processes.
Very, very interesting. But for someone that is importing their car for the first time, you've talked about pre-registration and pre-clearance itself. Just in terms of the pre-registration, what exactly is involved in this process?
Okay, so for pre-registration, what we are saying is when you make your importation, before the goods or the consignment arrives at the border, you need to make a declaration with customs as a way of cutting out on the delays. So this declaration can be manually or automatically. At the moment, we are doing automatic declarations. So you're supposed to declare your goods at least 7 days before arrival at the border. And that declaration will be on our customs clearance system in this case.
Exactly. So just a quick reminder, before your vehicle is at the border, ensure that you've got all the right documentation just to make sure that your declaration, by declaring we mean you submit to the Zambia Revenue Authority the papers or the documents that are needed for us to start processing the clearance of your vehicle. So take that in mind and ensure that all the documentation is in there, it's correct. But who do I use? Do I submit the papers on my own? Do I engage a clearing agent?
So the clearing agent will make a submission, and like you say, there are documents that will be required. So in making the process faster, easier, and less hectic, the clearing agent needs to make sure that the documents that are submitted are correct, they should be authentic, and all the necessary requirements should be met. For we have some consignments that might require extra requirement of documentation like a license or permits. So all those should be put at the point when the pre-registration is being done. This is going to help customs to quickly look at the declaration, so much so that if all the requirements are met, by the time the consignment is arriving at the border, all we are going to do is minimal interventions. In some cases, you even do the whole process, like now we get into pre-clearance, where you actually even pay all the access duties So the only thing remaining now will be the release of the goods when they come, and that might just require minimal intervention of us just clarifying whether these are the goods that were declared. So it's very important that the clearing agent makes the correct declaration, because once the goods arrive, we are going to check and ensure that what was pre-registered, what was declared, is what we actually have.
So what are the benefits, per se, when you look at, I know I tried it on my second importation of the other car, but what are the benefits now that one should look out for when they think of pre-registration and pre-clearance?
Thank you, Oliver. So obviously the time of clearance will be shortened, which is a benefit. Nobody wants to waste their time. And then in our current situation, under the current circumstances where we are ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic, obviously that process is going to help reduce the dwell time at the border, congestion, because we don't want people congested in a whole place to increase the chances of contracting COVID-19. And also, because the more time you take at the border, you might start incurring other costs. There's accommodation and logistics. So when you pre-clear, or when the pre-arrival processes are done, it means you're going to spend little time, and even the cost of business will be reduced.
From what you're saying, it seems the benefits are more than the disadvantages. Is there a way of making this process, probably one out there could be saying, okay, why can't we make this mandatory? Should everyone be mandated to ensure that before their goods arrive at the border, they are requested by the law or by ZRA to ensure that they start the process of pre-registration and pre-clearance?
So actually, Oliver, pre-arrival processing is mandatory. So you need to pre-register your consignment at least 7 days before they arrive in the country. So pre-registration is mandatory. In terms of whether the process will culminate into pre-clearance, is dependent sometimes on the type of consignment and the other processes, clearance processes that might kick in. There are other goods that cannot be released without physical inspections. So for those, we will have to wait until the goods arrive for us to complete the process.
Well, you're talking about physical inspections, as yes. ZRA does inspect. Why do you conduct these inspections?
So inspections are for verification purposes, and there are some goods, or even like a motor vehicle, where we might need to check on the chassis number or the engine number, which is key in terms of our clearance protocols here.
Okay, so for those that are just joining us today, we are discussing the pre-arrival processing, which involves pre-registration and pre-clearance. And all we're saying is that, look, these are processes that give you a lot of benefits. You reduce the time that you spend at the border. You've already started the process 7 days before your vehicle or your goods arrive at the border. So by the time the goods arrive at the border, there'll be very minimal processes that will be conducted at the border. It might just take even hours before your goods or your vehicle is released. So we're encouraging you, our taxpayers out there, to ensure that even when you engage your clearing agents, they start the process of pre-registration and pre-clearance. That way, even as the Zambia Revenue Authority will be serving you with the utmost efficiency. Remember, for us, what we are concerned about is the taxpayer focus. We want to give you the very best customer experience. And another interesting perspective to this, in case you're just joining us, a lot of people do wonder, how do you come up with these taxes, even when I start my pre-registration and pre-clearance processes. Remember, my colleague Beauty talked about ensuring that you submit documentation, and the documentation, we'll talk about it very soon. But every time we look at, you make a submission of the documents, for us to calculate these taxes and duties, we'll look at the cost of your goods, we'll look at the insurance that is paid, and we'll also look at the cost of freight. And that is why at the end of the process, you will see on your document, it's written CIF. So basically, we do not use any other criteria. We do not go witch hunting to say, okay, what else was involved? No, we are very transparent in our processes. But talking about submission of documents, why should I submit documents? What is important? Why are the documents important for ZRA? And which documents in particular?
Okay, so the documents will relate to the goods, obviously. So we need to know the description of the goods. You talked about our criteria for tax assessments, which is the cost, insurance, and freight. All that will be tabulated on an invoice. Then we have like a bill of lading, which will show us the origin of the goods, because that is also key for us. We need to know where the goods are coming from. And then, of course, like for consignments that need permits, for consignments that have certain restrictions, either in terms of quantity or even quality, and also the importation, we might need permits. So all that will give us information that is relating to the goods or the consignment.
Last week, the Zambia Revenue Authority, just within the lines of pre-registration and pre-clearance, issued a notice encouraging people to ensure that they process their bills of entry for export inland. Is that something that you'd also want to talk about?
Yeah, Oliver will be implementing that starting 1st September on the system, but we're encouraging that inland processing so that we take out the congestion at the borders. Because if that process is done from inland, it means at the point of exit, this consignment will just make exit, just the same simple validations and verifications, and then the goods go. So it's all about lessening the dwell time at the border, reducing on cost, and also the inconvenience, and as well as adhering to COVID-19 health guidelines.
With pre-registration and pre-clearance, are we assuring the taxpayers out there, the clearing agents, the importers and exporters, that should they start this process early enough, there will not be delays at the borders?
That assurance, Oliver, is given. That is why we're even giving out this knowledge and this information. We want our taxpayers, we want our clients to be aware of processes that they can use in order to reduce on the inconvenience. And for us, I think our interest is to expedite clearance. We are not interested in delay. Besides, we have facilitation to conduct, so we are not interested in delaying clients. What we want is to reduce cost of doing business, to give our clients the best service and not inconvenience them unnecessarily.
I like the last part you've talked about, because if you're just joining us 2 years ago, the Zambia Revenue Authority rebranded. So you find that even in its vision, we do not only want to collect taxes, we also want to facilitate legitimate trade. So we want to make it very easy and quick for anyone involved in our trade to just have the comfort of doing business with us. But in all this, what is the role of the clearing agent?
Yeah, so like we stated earlier, the clearing agent needs to ensure that they make the declaration at least 7 days prior to the goods arriving at the border. And also the clearing agents needs to be alert, because in case of any queries, they need to give us timely response so that we don't delay them. And the importers also have a role to play, Oliver. They need to ensure that at the point we are receiving the goods that were declared when the consignment was pre-registered should be the goods that we receive. Yes, and for us, we want to have this mutual cooperation with our clients. So in case there is any other information that is needed, if they can respond to us timely, that will help us process their goods in good time.
Very interesting. Before I come to you with another subject, talking about the role of clearing agents and the importers, what we need to remind our taxpayers out there is that there are a number of registered clearing agents association, freight and forwarders associations. So what you do, you go to our website, go under customs, you will find a list of registered clearing agents, and including associations. So feel free to engage any of the legitimate or rather registered clearing agents, so that should you have inquiries, it's easy to make follow-ups with the Zambia Revenue Authority. And of course, for on our part, we want to ensure that everything that is done in terms of trade facilitation is legitimate. So feel free to do that. But talking about the issue of legitimate and issues of fraud involving people that unscrupulous people at the borders, how are we working to ensure that we reduce people crowding our borders and ensuring that they swindle those that are very unsuspecting?
Yeah, so like you indicated, we have a listing of the registered clearing associations, and at our borders, usually for us to deal with any of the clearing agents, they need to be identified. We also have a list that we have of people that we deal with. So in terms of people getting swindled, I think once they follow the guidelines in terms of where to find legitimate clearing agents, we don't expect much of that.
So this is a very interesting subject that could be of importance to you. So if you have any queries, please feel free to drop us any queries on our live chat there, as well as any comment that you might want clarification. Today we're discussing pre-arrival. Now, pre-arrival processing encompasses pre-registration as well as pre-clearance. Well, overall, Beauty, when we look at all these facilities that ZRA has been bringing on board, are people utilizing and realizing the benefits?
Yes, in terms of utilization, I think we can tell we have increased trade volumes. So the thing is, if even for a transporter, if we are able to process their consignments quickly, it means the chances of them making more trips, their turnaround time is increased. So the business is good for them when we do our part in terms of clearing them early. The pre-arrival processing facility is actually a very important tool in terms of trade facilitation as we endeavor to modernize our customs processes.
So in all this, again, just a recap of, because we've talked about the role of the clearing agent, we've talked about the role of the importers and the exporters rather. Overall, what is our role as the Zambia Revenue Authority in all this?
Thank you, Oliver. So like we indicated earlier, our role is to provide the knowledge, give information to the general public on what's available for them. And in our processes, we also carry out a very effective risk management system to help us in terms of sorting out our consignments, to know which ones might need minimal interventions or which ones might need physical inspections. But even for those that involve physical inspections, our commitment is to clear them within the shortest possible period. So the cooperation we'll need from the importers and the agencies that if they do their part, in as much as we are going to do a physical inspection, if everything else has been taken care of, the time will be less because the physical inspection will just be a matter of verification.
Okay, someone is just commenting that with pre-registration and pre-clearance being mandatory in box 21 of the CE 20, suppose we insert TBA, are we going to be punished? So that's okay, so someone, this is Solomon actually asking whether they will be punished if they indicate to be advised. So Solomon, what you can do before, actually it's very advisable that before you, as you engage in that process, ensure that you contact the station manager at the port of entry or exit that you want your goods to be imported or exported. So ensure that you also maintain prior communication with the station that you want to use, and this also applies with the inland processing of views of entry, because there are those that could be close to the border. So I think the notice also says they're exempted, isn't it?
Yes. So I think the key here is communication. We are saying if you do the pre-registration, it should be at least 7 days prior to arrival. So instead of you indicating TBA in box 21, if there are issues that you might need to clarify, like my colleague Oliver indicated, our station managers are there to give you the guidance.
Okay. So keep sending those comments and questions if at all there's any clarification. Of course, Kabanje, which is a very good point to note, Livingston Port is an inland office. Exports can be processed at the station. We're very correct there. Alice Chancer says, for inland clearance of exports, we hope the inland stations will be adequately staffed to avoid delays. Your comment?
I think we're putting everything in place. Like we've been stressing, our interest is to give the best service we can to our clients. and we don't want to incur any unnecessary delays because it's costly.
Okay. Right, this brings us to the end of our discussion. Remember, today we've been discussing pre-arrival, which encompasses pre-registration and pre-clearance. Please ensure that you take advantage of these facilities that the Zambia Revenue Authority is offering for you, so that you do not spend a lot of time at the border waiting for your goods to be cleared. Remember, like I said, it can be excruciating to just wait. That anxiety, that where you know that your car has been at the border for 1 week and you're waiting. Remember, anything can happen, and you spent a lot of money. You want your goods to arrive as soon as possible. So what do? 7 days before your goods arrive at the border, engage the clearing agent. Start the pre-registration and pre-clearance processes, so that by the time your goods are at the border, everything could have been done. And in that way, you and I are going to ensure that trade facilitation is quick and easy. Remember, do pre-registration, do pre-clearance, drive the change to ensure that business is smooth and fast. I've been your host. My name is Oliver Nzala. I've been, of course, with my colleague Beauty. We're wishing you a lovely day, and God bless you.